Hi, my name is Brandon Hill, and I chose to do my speech on my grandfather. His name is Richard Brown. I'm going to start off by giving you guys a little bit of a background about him. He was born January 7th, 1943, in a small hospital outside of Washington, D.C. He spent most of his young adulthood actually living in the D.C. metro area, and when he was in his early 20s, he moved down to Stafford County, which is in Virginia. It's about halfway in between Richmond and Washington, D.C. And he moved there, and he worked like small, like odd and end jobs here and there, like working at car dealerships, detailing stuff like that. Um, he was married once, and he had three beautiful children. He had Kimberly Joy Brown, Marty Brown, and Richard Brown. He named his son after him. And my mom is actually Kimberly Brown, so that's how he got to be my grandfather. When he first moved down to Stafford, Virginia, he was diagnosed with skin cancer. His cancer started off by not really taking care of like his physical appearance. I guess when he was out in the sun, he didn't really wear too much like sunscreen. He didn't believe in wearing hats and stuff like that in the summertime to keep sun off your face. And that's how he actually wound up getting skin cancer. He fought off the skin cancer for many years, and actually fought for about 5 to 10 years for the skin cancer, and he actually beat the skin cancer. But when he did, it actually took they had to cut like pieces of his ear off that were like infected with the cancer. So my whole life I knew him that he only had like partial pieces of his ears left. He didn't have full ears my whole life. Um, a lot of people didn't even know he had skin cancer to begin with because he would never complain about anything. He was always upbeat. He was always happy, always in a good mood. You never knew that he ever had cancer. Um, I guess the skin cancer was the early set of his cancerous life. About 20 years later, I guess around the time I was born, he was diagnosed with cancer again, but this cancer came back as lung cancer. Um, he fought the lung cancer for years. My whole life he had been fighting that, and he tried every form of therapy that was offered. He tried the chemotherapy. He did everything. He even found a place down in Daytona, Florida that he used to drive to once a month for just special therapy, and he was actually like a prototype for that kind of therapy, which means that he wasn't sure what kind of results he was going to get. He just was willing to try anything. Um, I guess after that he moved down to Lake Gaston, and that's where he lived the remainder of his life. He passed away probably about 2 or 3 months ago. He passed away in April on April 10th actually, down in North Carolina. The reasons why I chose to talk about my grandfather, it's very simple. He was my best friend growing up. He was one of the best people I've ever known. He he fought pretty much his entire life, and he definitely fought my entire life of cancer. But he didn't let that become between anybody. He was always the kind of person that would, he was always there. He's always smiling. He was never in a bad mood. I never even saw him sleep. He was always up. He was always doing stuff. He was always willing to help people out. Um, even if I had a baseball game growing up and he had to go to treatment, he'd miss going to treatment because I guess it was more important for him to come and be there and show us that he cared for us. So he'd set aside his own personal problems like the cancer and everything else. He'd set everything aside just to be with us. Um, even when it came to award shows, he would do that. He'd do that for just about anything. And Grandpa Brown, he was a bit of a jokester. He loved to make people laugh. I remember one time, I guess back when my mom and dad were first started dating, they were outside washing the vehicles, and somebody did something where it got him wet, so he started chasing people around the outside with a water hose. Well, everybody ran inside like thinking it was gonna be like a safe zone for him. Well, they said he ran right inside with a water hose and flooded his entire house with a water hose just to make sure he got everybody good. I also remember when I was a young kid, I was over at his house one day and I was helping him kill like baby copperhead snakes because one of them they were getting real close with his dog. So I don't know how he managed to do this, but he managed to untie one of my shoelaces and then convinced me that I had snakes crawling up my leg, that which were actually my untied shoes. And I was probably jumping for 3 minutes straight. I didn't want to come back down to the ground. But that's just the kind of guy he was. He was always telling jokes, always making people laugh. You could never take him serious. Didn't matter what he said, you could never take it serious. When I was in my later years in high school, he moved down to Lake Gaston. After he found out that there was no way that the chemo or anything was going to help with cure his cancer, he decided that he needed to do something for himself, and he decided to move down to Lake Gaston. Everybody in the family, we all tried to rotate going down there to go see him. We tried to make it. Not a weekend went by that nobody was down there visiting him and spending time with him. Um, he, he will always love being on the water, and when he sold his house up here, he actually bought a house overlooking the water down there. The house is completely paid off, and it was a beautiful house. And it's just not the same going down there when he's not there anymore. But we still try and go down there and help maintain the house for him and stuff like that. But even when we went to go visit him in the hospital when he was passing away, he had one wish that he wanted everybody to do for him, and that was he had started dating a girl, and he wanted to make sure that her grass got cut every day during the summer. He didn't care anything about having his house. He just wanted to make sure that her house was taken care of and that she was taken care of by us. And that's why I really wanted to give this speech about him, because he made a big impact in my life and how I should be as an adult. And that's why I wanted to give the recognition to him.